Hello, my name is Justin Arnold, author and voice of A Dog Outside at Night in a Fight. Please visit my bookstore at worksbyjustinarnold.com where you can find literary, cinematic, and musical feats of showmanship. I now present to you my first book, A Dog Outside at Night in a Fight. One. The sun-beat prison lay landways time and attention amidst the pit of some hermetic desert valley. It might swallow the fortress of barbed wire and cinder block hole if rain thirst quenched, if quickened sand were allowed to choke down a single life from that tomb within the festering mind of man. Mere mercies to die from this place, in heart afar. A lizard palmed the sun-blasted block wall, tongue shoveling into a butchered bowl that once served sight, and the sound of try and dust speckles the speckled dragon as it darts off. A cinder block, loose in its mortar, juts about, tumbles out, and it drop over rot and it womp. An array of scattered hell dust light past the void, catch some geode broke in two, inlet ablaze about the bridge of his broken bearing. The crooked anvil, nostriled into his face, sucks in searing soot, and it flushed the side a whirl. This man, greased like gold in his finger-combed hair, his beard grown over, smells like rain. His aim's to get out of this hole he'd dug himself. He sticks his neck out to see where's payment and pain held receipt below. The rock he'd cleaved to push was just a-waitin' on the show. And twice the width from which he burred the gristle in his best shoulder was grinding, and piece by piece the man knuckled on him one more arm. Now what? Stuck. Waist deep against the force of the fall, and the wall was too hot to touch, and no grip could be made, and so he has to just let go. The coral edges of the exit shanks down his shin bones, and it catch him by foot. Hooked and crooked, he spanks against it all, and he's upside down and dangled. You look up and over and above, and that little lizard cyclops was sitting still batting its one winker. Legs overhead, his head near bashed into the corner point of a beveled concrete cinder block that he by all measure the meaning sporked out, his wind knocked out, and his skint knees hammered into his nose, and his mouth burst into a sputtering taste of salt lick. His body writhed there, a silent hoot. A whirlwind all about, and he just won't take it. The balloon in his rib cage pop it flat gimp there in his belly. Here come a sting, pulling at his nuts inside of his nutsack. He flicked so hard at them panging balls his asshole went spastic. Felt like if he might fall backwards into his own asshole, and if left be upturned and trapped. Insides, outsides. But there in red spittle he laid kissed in sugared earth. Pain hurts. Any man taste it can take it. The flavor of this man's lot in this life, that's what's so hard to swallow, and as hard as his was, a gas. Oh, he guessed he'd catch his wind. Stick-limbed javelins strove in their currents a hot lash about that far-off folding strata. The Sierra Madres. Motherfucking mountains are beautiful. And that little green shit running against the wall upturned into the void and clung still but for its beating heart, and from that perch the man's foot raced to freedom. The cooling sun, stabbing its many swords into the cloud banks of a tempest. Geysers of charged blood-orange spat into the range. A cat o' nine tails arc there, lashing implosions. This gale is going to eat by light of the sun in the sunset like it was going to squall. He was tiny at that distance. A horned jackrabbit could compare. This rare sight was hard at it. A muzzle flash and a thunder clap. A prison guard in a watchtower aims to hit him in the back. His hip pocket went pregnant in a snap. Yep. He lost and found his quicker steps again. His jogging, tugging at his torn flesh, pleading with him to pay attention, but it doesn't sting like nothing. Not yet. Blood, sweat, and tears fall off of a man. His hip pocket gagged, and he could feel the warm froth slick down into his groin and cake up the crack of his ass. No bat out of hell could have wobbled so fast. Two. And bruised arc and flashlight, a red tail set sail mocked afloat in the lukewarm grays of gravity, our purgatory between this crust and forever. If the lone hawk's simple desire was to catch a phoenix, well, by God, this was taking a shot at it. That and off the apron upland a distant work-in fire cast a penniless carousel about the basin. Woof! 3 sat around the spit. The fat of this world lent them little more than a handful of rooster teeth, but they did lay claim to one another, and in that company no price could be matched. The little one lapped in arms of origin, this child, star-crossed in mother's looks. A man might die happy to have come so far with so much. But then again, he might die happier to go with them just a little further. 41 miles southwest of Rio Grande, smack dab in the asshole of the Chihuahuan desert. They were knee-deep and in a heap of caca. Not literally, but figuratively. Indeed, it was a black market bus stop. A Mexican family, that's what's waiting for the bus to show. Its driver, a coyote, to take them nearest the northeasterly river so as to cross into U.S. territories and be in Texas. Happily. They all saw up into the electrocution of the hereafter, and it looks though it might puke green, triggering upon that stilted wingspan of that really big bird hanging far out and up there in a sky waiting, watching, Mother Earth and all its stupid-looking, buck-toothed beasties cutting their teeth all alone and at the same time together. This man swallows his empty throat and carves his hen off its skewer. If a bad man, the wolf won't stop at a single bite. A sliver of hen fat goes pitched into the mid-air at a mongrel, won't let it alone go hit the ground. No, whole is it captured and whole is it gobbled. It puts on a serious study, chops licked in what was and what off-cut to come. No, she will finish the meal started. This living thing, its focus not moving, masked in lost feather a raven, a tight quill of fur, neaten with kid hands, her golden whisk, unlit in fermented cherry, her cloven wet nose scrunched up over the top of her blue gums, saw-toothed and glowing teeth, one broken but lit dimly, mantle exposed, it surrounded by those pointing inside the great heat-huffing maw. The she-wolf must have swallowed the devil, for its bifurcated tail snaked back against her pitch-dark face, and then again she swallows the demon, and then again it muscling out of her mouth, all tacky and wet. She stands on the pads of her paws, thrown from birth a different breed of cat. Dog-like, a mix maybe, its head big as an African hyena's, and the answers to what it was set deep inside its stalwart skull and thinking at you. You gotta scare the poor child. I'm not scared. See? She's not scared. He put a strip of that cooked hen in the child's bowl, and the 5-year-old trapped in a fur suit comes to laying over top of that doll's shoulder, its head 4 times as big as the little girl's. The she-wolf knew one of 2 things. Whiskers make for tickles, and tickles make for shares in hand. The little girl's giggles and greasy chicken fingers may have very well been this lucky dog's most favorite thing in the whole wide, wide world. But if a man be of goodness, if a good man, a single bite will turn him into. The man's eyes catch those of his woman's, his lady, O mother of all she holds blameless, and with bated breath her warning, the stammer in his words, take pause. He go on ladle a tin cup from the mouth of a kettle, sat near to them wood coals, off the outskirts of flame, all pulsating in that white ash ember. Beans and the syrup therein, drown the cup over. He makes haste to spill him atop that stripped hen in his daughter's bowl first, before the sting of that cup knuckled round his middle finger, warn him enough is enough. But then there goes a cup, lost about a jig in his juggling hands, and the cup goes cool just enough to believe its tricks twice more. And after he'd haphazardly filled all their bowls, he went on ahead and bucketed the rest of those beans away from source heat, and with the skin of his boot, footed them off to spill over and toward that wild thing won't stop staring. At least leave the kid alone to eat. Mama didn't get a spoonful cool before that kid think, turn him into what, Papa? And the sky took off, chasing after its own shadows. A scatter, a flash flicker, a gruff stammer, that darkness sparked darkness. Papa's face held in mind's eye some laser within, some thought and fear, and if measure spoken, contagious, spaced on that scale, his gaze toward the she-wolf. Her pelt standing cowlick between her shifting shoulder blades like she knew she was being seen, and she did. The she-wolf's power beefed into the base of her skull, and her earring satellites pinned down into the kettle of all that was, and just like that, none was. A monster, bald white, that child's fists wrenched tight, and Mama felt this moment's marrow chilling the child. Okay, that's enough. I'm not scared, Mama. Anna, there is no such thing. They say there is no such thing. Well, that alone tells you just how rare it is that it happens. You see, for the wolf is wise and can see into a man or a little girl, can tell if your purpose, your path in this world is a worthy one. What wild-eyed mischief, sure enough, charm wouldn't win this woman over. He begged inch just a little farther. Squeezed, the kid surmounted all obstacles of fright with a look, her look's the look of her mother, and both mother and daughter each giving this man their side eyes. And the she-wolf's jowls is flapping into the depths of that cast-iron kettle for the bean that might lead to one more bean, and look a here, another. The kid wittedly smirks. Jorge bit you. And the she-wolf slung that hill of beans cocktail off her snout in answer to her name, and the kettle clanged when it hit the ground. That hairy high-haunched constable cocked into them last words spoken, and a curious chill blow about, whistling into the air. See, Jorge did bid me. On the finger! In all the glitz and grandeur a dad might muster, in swoop a gesture. A man, and every man, this family man, stands center stage, the spotlight of his daughter's leaping heart, and with a great bellow he play a snarling snark. His facial expressions, cartooning imitations, down-tempo, in real time. That little girl's favorite Saturday morning Tasmanian devil come to stuntin' to his mind. He danced dizzy as a tornado and beatbox his many words with the dogged bravery of a rock-ribbed buffoon. And a gamut of bursting spittle, his teeth snippety-snap, snapping over a flash dance of spirit fingers. And the savage hairs of his mustache walked like a woolly bear, and that caterpillar went crawling and gnawing on the first knuckle of his fist. And for all the rip-roaring hullabaloo, he slapstick a skin-flapping forefinger into the air, and he held it freeze-frame in action, but the skin flap went, hoo-ha! There. What milkman mockery! This man milking it for all it's worth. Squealing in fright, surprised at the sight, he turns to his daughter in awe, a delight. On the one hand, a nub, a shorter digit, the chicken nugget, a stub. That famed fingernail-less finger just a wagging its way in short beating ovals abreast the hairy knuckles of his balled-up fist. And it just kept on, kiddin' a kid. I stepped onto Jorge's big toe. Did she turn you into? Slowly, I started to feel a tingle in my finger, and it really, really tingled. I gasped. Papa gasps. Anna gasps. My eyes grew bigger, mine bigger. My ears, they wiggled. My voice deeper and deeper. I howled out, ouch! Papa! Anna's heart-shaped face decorated ear to ear in little square kid teeth. Her voice box stops. Her sprawls out in silent bops. The tittering of a ticking tummy time bomb held in the cradle song of a mother's arms, and it was at any time she may pop. Anna's mama and papa look up, smiling, pointing their smiles at one another. This kid had chosen you to let you be a part of it. It's a magical thing to love a thing so much that you understand the universe to bend itself mightily on your behalf, so that everything must understand itself to work out on your behalf. The armor of love has no chink, but to let it go, and so we think. And for the first time in a long time, Papa saw the doubt in Mama's eyes, and it touched him like his daughter's booming laughter. Anna rewinds. She fast-forwards to all the good parts of Papa's one-man show for Mama one last time. Everything is gonna be just fine. Ouch! And that snaggletooth she-wolf cocks her head on a dog's ear, as if twisted scrutiny could lend an ounce of sense toward this family's lunacy. Mama goads the child in kisses that tickle, and for that child's laughter, everything makes sense. And jealousy and love, doggone jealousy and love. The wolf-hound swallows her tongue. The apple in the tree, clowns, all three. Yowling holograms spat out of Papa's cheeks like two electrifying lenticular lunatics hidden in the flick light of the storm. His woman volt still, her touring child still hooting in arms. Mama pans her looks into the looks of the animal she-wolf and is spellbound for its green glassy gold hollow glimmer. It weighed her into the portal pools of its black hole face, and the woman let those crows take her wherever her mind makes believe to go. The wolf pet hadn't yet told her anything she hadn't yet already feared. A gorged barrel ballistic echo rush on rich, its ears pitchfork and it razorback, and the she-wolf tuned up on all fours. Papa swivels his chin over his shoulder, and they all transfix their faces towards that plain view, afar and fetched. It were a ghetto of gaggling ghost faces, brooding out from an ear-hole of darkness, tumbling into the electrocution like a silly ribbon cascading off the yoke of its spool. They hunt, hearing after June bugs, lost in this torpid storm, flying like idiots and feeding. Now that praying bird was suicidal, high as a jet plane when it claps aim bombardment. Law fetched the fall, and a tri-horn spur went knuckling into a squabbling pulse. A bat, a white bat. Out in that great big silence, it was screaming its head off, and then it wasn't screaming anymore. Just imagine it, out there, this and the family and the pitchfork pet. How speechless, in silence, they said. Then came a mechanized trundle, singing its cradle song, and tender lulls its lullaby, and a single headlamp ramps into the far-flung hills. Papa was expecting this bus, the Coyote, to take them across border lines into U.S. territories and be in Texas, happily. The Coyote, quick, gather your things, we cross over. Mama and Papa scramble for a pot to piss in, but all they got was all they own, and the she-wolf danced the two into berserk circles, nipping and yipping at their heels, trying to herd the two off the ledge of this frantic uproar as they stage their few belongings. Mama got nipped on the butt. Papa jerks his hat off and swats that dog off of his lady, and the dog balks back and flinch, nipping and yipping up at him in its gruff language of yore, and the two stand and duel like that, back and forth, to and fro. The kid stands in a sweater's hug, day dress stamped in baby's breath and red cowboy boots. She aims a dark shot wish for that blasted ornament come on kicked in stardust destiny. The bus was pitch void on the far side of a geyser, what flashed terrain. That gamut swept over, about come to halt, and did so, licked in devil's dust, and Anna was swallowed up into the halo of its one headlight. "Get back!" With the swat of his hat, Papa tip a dog's ear, and a track of large paws dust a hoop around Anna, and both the child and the animal lean a hug in for the other, and that dog's tail bats the ground twice as it stops. Anna rubs her pup's boo-boo, and she glances up at her Papa with a sharp glare, and it points, and her Papa felt it. He asks if she's okay. Anna folds that big hairy ear backward into the palms of both her little hands, and it slowly stands up straight on its own. She nods. Papa couldn't fight off a smile. Anna was too cute. He fixed his hat on his head and took on into that spotlight. Mama lug a carrying case over, contemplating his shadows cast against that source energy, and she watches him terminate. The headlight went out, and Papa point flashed into darkness afloat in the retractor beam, vacuuming him into the desert night. His wife saw his arm was still up for shade, and she saw it go limp down against his side, still, body pulsing in the night like a ghost. White. Papa heard the driver's side door open. It slammed shut and those boot heels stomped towards him, stomping after him. His face facing the darkness and his back turned against all he had ever known and loved. He was blinking fast when it fell over his ears. The rope caught him up under the brim of his hat, and it cinched down hard, and it snaps the hat off of his head, and that hat went to front flipping into the air. Papa did paw for his neck, and when he did, that dull figure takes a jab step and swings, hips hard into it. Papa's head lashed over the back of his shoulders, a thump pop trumpeting out of his nostrils. A human rag doll, his body implodes like an important building. One ear claps for his spinal cord, and his head skip off a shoulder blade, and that was it, and there he lay, a mess. Breathing. The van come aglow when Mama's eyes fixed to see that out there figure hunkered over a heap and then standing out against it. The she-wolf had already run for it, closing in on half the distance by now. She'd pitched into that horde like a channel of white noise spinning out past its peak volumes. Mama grasped for the child, a shrill of guts into the night, battle crying like war. It opens its mouth and it shows its 3 glowing tooths and it pounds into a person. The triggered projectile barreled off, and sparks flew, and the she-wolf shot her many cries, yowping, into a great nothingness, in the middle of a great nowhere. The coyote rolls out from under the wolf like a person might throw off a bearskin blanket for being too hot. She lay on one side, and that side was wet, and the wet ran red. Her whiskered foreleg caked, paddling in the puddle. Odd as it seemed, the she-wolf quit crying. The coyote watched this, pistol in hand and pointing at her many attempts to rise. He ducked over Papa within his reach and tugged the rope loose off of the lame body and rolls it across the front of its face. The snare was coarse, wiry, fashioned into a slip knot at the mouth of a pipe as long as a wood bat. Wet gore stream out the cuff of the coyote's duster and it wick off the fixed sights of his cannon. The she-wolf was absolute in her agony, and in that the coyote left her, like so. Anna was a cutting blade folded up against her mama. It was a spiritless wind blowing in a boundary of cold gathering up against their warm backs. And they, both mother and daughter, watching through their puffing breaths into the gloom. The two had the other brave, what was. What bedeviling moonless in that dark wilderness would slog up to show itself in firelight before them, and not yet, but now, standing there in the weight of their plea. The mother and child had neither a word, no move to make. The coyote heft his red, wet, sopping arm into an L shape against his gut, and when the firearm got level, a racket spooked the hearing pangs. Mama was surprised how easy it was to take a bullet. And she didn't want to leave, but the hole it bore begun to burn inside of her chest. Anna is all on her own now, and had not a kind turn to anyone to say hello. A butcher had made his cuts. Anna rave. That child bawl cry, she cries out, a rage into the parroting echoes, strobe fled into the backfiring ethers, pleading into the upland rise against her like a seismic sea wave cast off into the outer darkness. Her skin stretched thin against her chin. The girl's yammering first most distort snap repulsions, a terrific gape, searing beyond all comprehension. Her blistering terror spew. She keel over and keen. She keel over and keen. His hemp lasso hooped for the roar, and it draw on the lines of her jaw. She saw her mama lay still, but mama was still taking small sips at the pink bubbles popping inside of her mouth. Snarling angel hairs taut in a slip knot blown into the jilted front. The coyote's catch pole romp a rope up behind both Anna's ears, and it hurts into the scrags of Anna's skull. and tress-tangled wretch. She is swept. The coyote pull-stringed the toy child up over the top of his head, and he put her on her toes, and that she-wolf pissed on in a puddle of dog-pissing blood. Anna get up and run a terrific circle around the coyote, and he timber her sidelong into a cartwheel, and his catch-pole key over twice as tight and all the more rigid. Anna hit on them rocks hard, face to his face, and one of Papa's eyeballs was out of its mind lying in the dirt. Anna's teeth jumped start jabbering in the hiss of her mouth, her swelling neck tapered and rope-burn against the stranglehold. Her thin skin folded in cross-hatching blisters. Anna carries her hand out to her father, and the whites of her eyes go throng in spider legs of pickled cherry. The van door went pop and it surged. The coyote pulled the kid in, loosed the tourniquet, and that squeeze rope squish off Anna's face. She goes hard for air, and it goes out of her like a gigged frog. Jorge. The coyote throw on a heavy sliding door, and it slams them shut. The van got on its tires like a cube of sugar put on the back of an ant. At any rate, the coyote walks around, gets in, cranks the engine, and floodlit a geyser. Two ghosts give up the heat of their bodies. The van crawls up the pot face of this rut earth, and in one final fleeting red breaking red light it plummet into the darkness. Gone. All bloody and wet. The she-wolf lurched upon its mutton chops, a tripod. Her foreleg was pulverized, cock crook, and it pinned to her pelt in waves flexing. She shivers. She hop-stepped the distance to Papa and put her gold whiskers into his ear. She hop-steps aside him and drives her muzzle underneath one of his arms, inside his armpit, sends the body to rock up over upright. But it won't. The she-wolf stands there like that for the longest while and watching. But there was nothing else coming, and there was nowhere else to go. Thank you for listening to A Dog Outside at Night in a Fight by Justin Arnold. Self-published and copywritten in 2019. Audiobook produced and copywritten in 2024. All rights reserved. If you loved A Dog Outside at Night in a Fight, please visit and share the author's website at worksbyjustinarnold.com, where you'll find more literary, cinematic, and musical feats of showmanship.